Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, good morning to all the participants here. More knowledgeable participant, I will say rather. So, anyways, from this is the last day today, and certainly, means you had got a good knowledge. You had gained a good knowledge and the understanding of uh, the artificial intelligence and the techniques involved therein in these last 4 days. Now, moving towards this last day, the first session, and that specifically talks about video surveillance and AI. So let's see what actually I have to deliberate here. Okay. So let me share my presentation here. Hope my PPT is visible to all. Is it visible, madam?
Sir, right now,
No, sir.
no, sir, not visible.
No, sir.
I shared it, but it will be taking few seconds actually. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Hope this is visible now.
No, sir.
It's not visible, sir.
From my side, it is shared actually.
Sir, your screen is visible, but not the presentation. I think
Not
you
the
need to share
presentation.
presentation. Yeah.
No, my screen is means my presentation is running on my screen, so it actually can come. But let me once again do it. Why it's not showing? PPT. Just a second actually.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes. Hope this is visible now.
Yes, sir. Now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So I'll request the participants who are unmuted, please mute yourself. So let's start with the video surveillance and is how the video surveillance is actually involving artificial intelligence. So so when we talk of video surveillance with AI, so certainly means there are two terms. One is the video surveillance, another is the artificial intelligence. So just having a few glimpse of means you had already learned about it, means what the artificial intelligence is. So it's very well known, means the intelligence which is created artificially. So what is the history of it? Was the timeline of artificial intelligence from its inception? So we had thought of artificial intelligence in something 1950s and date back, 60, 70 years back. Certainly means the idea there was to means can the intelligence be created artificially? So and then we had seen many more spans in this the cycle of the artificial intelligence. So then we have seen more evolvements in that area in terms of machine learning and the deep learning. Now, important thing is if we try to correlate it with means to well understand it. So how this artificial intelligence relates to machine learning and the deep learning, how this evolvement has happened, means what's the exact relation is. Okay. So then we have to first very well understand about what we mean with artificial intelligence. So a very vague definition we know of it means the intelligence created artificially. That's all right, means all good. But the important thing is, was the purpose creating intelligence artificially? Then all right, if we have some purpose, good enough, then how can that be created? So then we have to look upon the intelligence first. Okay. So how an intelligence can be created, beforehand we have to understand what the intelligence is. So typical, I have a bit good explanation from my side towards intelligence. So if we talk of an intelligence, so what the intelligence is, we know that this intelligence is a characteristic of a human being or a living being, which is possessed by the living being. Okay. Intelligence, so a very simple meaning of it we can see as, means intelligence is something, is the capability of one's to understand something around us. Okay, what's happening around us, what's going revolving around us. So understanding something or everything which is going around us. Okay, so is the capability. Okay, that is the degree of understanding what one gains actually. Okay, so is that thing. Okay, so now when we say intelligence is gained now, so is the intelligence inherent characteristic of one living being, or let's say very importantly with a human being? So is it possessed by the human being? No, means it we generally find intelligence with any of the living being. Okay, probably the degree of the intelligence would vary. The important thing is it the inherent property? Is it the inherent characteristic? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Actually, there was light
There is some
switch.
background noise is coming, madam. Actually, some beep sound is coming.
Oh, it could be because of fan or something, I guess.
So,
Sir, you continue.
all right. So, yes, so is it the inherent property, meaning that, so does every human being possess this intelligence? So then if we analyze it, we will find it certainly is not a very much inherent property. Okay, but what happens is that intelligence is gained during course of time actually. So now we have to look upon how the intelligence is gained and where it is gained. Okay. So the very physical entity we have with us is the brain, and this is the place where the intelligence is gained. So we can say that intelligence, a level of intelligence, a degree of intelligence gained by human being, that gives brain a status. So we can think the intelligence could be or intelligence as an state of a brain exactly. So if we try to have an analogy like this, means let's say we have a small kid, a newly grown baby, and certainly he grows up, comes to an age of 2, 3, and something like that. And if we try to look upon from there that stage itself, we will find that we try to analyze the intelligence level of that small kid. We'll find that the intelligence, probably he wouldn't be having any level of the intelligence. IQ would be 0, or would be having a very less degree of intelligence. But certainly, if we try to compare it with a matured human being, we will find it means that person has enough higher level of the intelligence, IQ there. So what happens means the person means being the living being, they are same exactly, but how in the level of the intelligence. So then we will find it that actually brain has grown in terms of that gain intelligence. So that is what happens. So we from this study we analyze that yes, intelligence is actually gained in a due course of time. Okay, and certainly there has, so intelligence is gained, then how it is gained exactly. So there might be some process which actually exist for increasing level of the intelligence actually, or gaining intelligence in due course of time. So if we try to see it, so it's something learning. So one gains the intelligence through learning exactly. learning happens through experiences. So and maybe we can very well have a clear analogy of it. Means, let's say we know that a small kid doesn't have any intelligence in terms of the knowledge there in their brain. So then how it gains once it reaches to enough matured level. So during that period, actually, how it gains, or he gains the intelligence. So it is through experiences. Means the kid have the curiosity to ask something, means to understand something. What is this? What is that? And so. And certainly corresponding to those questions, he gets some answers. Okay, and certainly, every time he get that information or the knowledge, and that becomes an experience for him. And certainly, at every next time, he will be finding such a new object around him. He will be very well telling about that is this object exactly. So these experiences, the information it gains are the experiences which actually makes. So in the experiences are the input for the brain to gain intelligence. Okay, and the whole set of process is called as the learning. Okay, one more important thing that plays a big role is now these experiences are gained. How these experiences are gained. So there has to be some physical entity which actually gives you the experiences, or from where we actually maybe we extract out those, or we capture out those experiences. So these are the senses. Senses are of the bigger role when we talk of the intelligence. So if, let's say, if a person is not having, so we know we have a human being possess 5 different senses. And let's say if any one of the person is not having any of these sense, so can we think of that he could gain an intelligence or the knowledge in that domain, or in that domain of that sense? Actually, certainly not. So senses actually have the bigger role. So we can very well understand it from that. I mean, let's say there is a blind person, and certainly if we ask him, okay, we know that very colorful environment, you can say, means. And certainly if same thing is asked to a blind person, that how you look, what do you understand, how the world look like, so he will say, means for him there is no existence of world actually, in terms of the environment and color and so what it says, that means, so he doesn't possess any sort of the intelligence of that domain. So meaning that means senses are very important. And this is how, means the idea was to actually correlate this intelligence with the senses. Okay, and typically means every of these senses has their bigger spectrum areas actually, where we can work out something. So so vision is the inherent capacity of intelligent capacity of human being. Certainly we have that vision capability, and we can do many sort of the thing with the help of the vision. Okay, so there's the intelligent capability. Vision we can say. So if we try to define a vision, so vision in case of the human being, it's an intelligent capacity of a human being actually. Intelligent characteristic of a human being, which makes us view something, understand something, and in many time respond to the things which it actually have, or react something to which actually it interact with. So that is the important thing. So then when we, so meaning that if this is the intelligence, and we want such an intelligence to be created artificially for what? Artificially for machines and the computers. Take it. So what we have to do then? So meaning that that artificial means intelligence created artificially has to be in one of that domain. So either it has to be in a vision domain, either it has to be in the sound domain, touch, smell, or the taste domain. Okay. So that is what means I want to make it out you to a domain of the artificial intelligence exactly, which we are creating intelligence artificially, and that too of the vision background. Okay. So that turned out to be a domain called a computer vision. Okay. So this is what the thing means. So the area which we come up with the vision sense utilization for creating means intelligence. That is the computer vision, and intelligence created as artificial intelligence, and the process which it will involve is the machine learning. So this is something about the artificial intelligence. And now, as our own topic of the discussion today, that is the video surveillance. So now let's look over the video surveillance. So it is one of the major problems of the computer vision. What it means, what do we mean for the surveillance? Means surveillance means monitoring something, monitoring some object, suspects, and looking over their behavior, activities, and some changing information in the environment. So monitoring some environment for some kind of these objectives. And what it involves some kind of electronic equipment like CCTV cameras, monitors, and something like that. Now, where we do the surveillance, what are the spaces actually where we employ the surveillance? So it could be employed for any indoor environment, outdoor environment. When we talk of the outdoor environment, certainly the roadside, the squares, crossing at the roadside, whereas fields could be also be there. Means out and the outer area of the buildings. Those could also be means surveillance could be employed there too. And then we can even have the surveillance being employed there in case of the indoors of the public places like malls, temples, stores, and all. So, meaning that means it's a enough bigger problem area. Means its spectrum is enough large. If you simply talk of the video surveillance problem area. So we know that means different departments of nation actually utilizes CCTV cameras for the surveillance. Means cameras are so when we talk of a video surveillance system, so certainly is something like this. Means is video surveillance system. It's a typical of the computer vision system. Okay. So when we say a computer vision system, so we want to develop a computer vision system. So what would be the key components to it? So key components in case of computer vision system would be we can gather it from the fact that means so what the computer vision system is doing, it's actually analyzing the video information or the image information of any environment, of any scene exactly, and it is processing that all information to give out some decision. Okay. So some output is to be generated, or some decision is to be made out of it, or some response is to be made out of it. So this is how our system look like. Okay. So if we try to look over what would be the key components to it, so then we can think of how our human being vision system actually works. So what are the key components to it? So how a human actually views the things and does every sort of the thing. So human requires eyes for it. Senses, as we had already told. So eyes are those sensors actually. So same way we require in case of computer vision system, we require those sensors. So cameras are the typical sensors, and certainly there could be a different kind of the sensor. Even camera, again there would be the types of the camera: CCD camera, thermal camera, infrared camera, and many other kind of the cameras. Okay. So cameras are playing means one of the key component to these systems. That could be any computer vision system or specifically video surveillance system. So CCTV cameras or any sort of other cameras are actually used for it. And then what is the prevalent scenario? If we look over that, CCTV cameras are used for surveillance. All right, well and good, we know it. Now, what is the prevalent scenario towards the usage of the CCTV cameras for surveillance? So it's very passive in nature exactly. So what we find is ki either what is done of it. CCTV cameras are placed, those are installed at different places. What is done is video logs are actually means video logs are made. Video footages are captured and video logs are made. And certainly those are not being monitored for the real time ticket. And what is done is means those logs are then seen at some later stage when some incident happens. So meaning that this kind of the installation, this kind of the usage of CCTV is actually more passive in nature. It's not active. Another thing is means even if it is active what means if some real-time monitoring is done, then that monitoring is done through what? Some security personnel are involved in that. Okay. So there are some security, some number of security personnel standing in or sitting there in some control room where we have get those video footages displayed on those monitors, and certainly they're looking over that. So what we find is now the important thing is how much active solution is this. So in this case, again, there are some constraints which actually make it not fully active. Not fully active means what means we are constrained capacity of the human being to actually monitor these videos streams 24/7. So human being doesn't have means that tires and certainly it can't look for continuously for long hours actually to those video streams. So it's very difficult for one means human personals actually to have a look on that, to monitor actually those video streams. And certainly if human personals are actually employed in such cases, then huge manpower is required in shifts and so. Okay. So again, a cost is very high. So meaning that I mean, if we try to look over these the prevalent methods to utilize these CCTVs and for the surveillance, so they are not very good. Means we are not getting very good results of it. And certainly these are vastly more cost. They are enough costly actually. So what we can think is, can we actually have a system or the solution designed for video surveillance which is more active in nature, more real time and reactive. We are not, or we can do without security personnel, no manual intervention. Without manual intervention, we can do that kind of the surveillance. So then there come an idea of actually creating some video surveillance system, an intelligent video surveillance system, and that too is more automated in nature. So this is the objective, and if we try to look over what are the typical objectives, so what are these surveillance done for? So then we can find out, we can list down many of those such objectives. So surveillance could be done for identifying or detecting suspicious object in terms of unattended objects. So unattended object lying at many places are many times suspicious actually. They can create some harm to the society and those public places. Then a suspicious object could be the weapons as well. Okay, so that can actually lead to some sort of unwanted activity. Okay, then unwanted activity detection in terms of fight, crowd, mob, okay, theft of something, pickpocketing, or the shoplifting means picking something in the shops. Okay, intentionally means just picking something means for not paying for it. Okay. So then other kind of objective could be means even detecting the thieves, okay, or those who are harming that particular scene. Okay. Then surveillance can even be done for some assistive technology actually. So it's something means creating some assistive technology for needy persons. So something like that means health monitoring of patients. So let's say if patients are alone somewhere, or some differently able persons are there, so they're and they are not surrounded by their means nearbys, okay, their relatives and means their very close persons. So in that case, what we can do is we can have some surveillance system deployed in order to have a monitoring of those, so that they won't undergo in any critical situation. Then same assistive technology for elderly people we can think of. Beside that, we can even we actually have objective in terms of biometrics for identity recognition at many places. Okay, let it be any where we require some sort of authentication for some purpose. So we actually can employ biometrics and face biometrics, iris-based biometrics, or retina-based biometrics, and all. So there, what we do, we have, so what we capture is actually some sort of the images and the videos. So those are further being processed through video analytics. Okay. And certainly those systems are the video surveillance systems. And even we have one more important area as the border surveillance, the surveillance at the border side. So again, it is having a bigger role, okay, in the society. So these are the typical objectives where we actually employ the surveillance, and we have the role of the surveillance. And now I will move up to some of these which actually we are exercising, and I will not be putting maybe discussing every of these. We are actually exercising almost all of these, but uh, in my slide I am means is the restricted so we are not having more time here to deliberate on each of those. So I will, but I will be telling some of those actually. So unattended object detection, something like this means object left by someone intentionally, and certainly that object is suspicious. Okay. So if you want to actually monitor such an unattended object in any scene, okay, uh, uh, probably at some public places like railway stations, bus stop, and all those places which are very publicly crowded. Okay, so there are the chances of some mischiefs is being done by someone to actually
Here,
create
when the
create
gas
some
flow,
if,
the flows across this S1 surfaces. This S1 surfaces.
please mute
Changes.
yourself. So yes, unattended objects. So now the thing is, how can we actually create a video surveillance system for that? So which can actually detect that unattended object for us. So what we have to do is probably image is not shown here. So no way. Okay. So the idea is means let's say if there is an unattended object being left by someone at some public place. Okay. So what is to be done? So how can we actually have a system which can actually recognize such an object? So detect such an object. So that is what we have mechanism for detecting that. So what we have to do is we have to actually capture those video frames, okay, and certainly then we have to look for means if those video frames are very much good quality or not, then we have to improve their quality, okay, by reducing some sort of the noise. And then what we have to do is we have to so since it is video it is a streaming video actually. So what we have to do is we can actually do some sort of the background suppression kind of the thing to make out those all the object which are capped means okay. So meaning movement when they were placed actually, and certainly when they were left. So some sort of background suppression we can do in order to find out those moving objects at any sort of the time, or then we have to actually apply some sort of means connected component kind of the method on the size of the candidate object. Okay. So once we do that and further we apply some sort of shape and size feature through some as detector kind of the thing, and come out with some contours. We do contour tracking and the size matching actually of it. So based on the size matching and the contour tracking, we can come up with a result that we find some unattended objects. So then once we find them, these are unattended objects, then what we can do is probably some unattended object could be suspicious and on the, so it could be something like that. So like means those railway parcels placed at those means those platforms probably could be unattended object for if we are having some timeline based tracking of the objects. Okay. So those objects could also be thought of as an unattended object, but now we have to look upon whether those all unattended objects are serious or suspicious or non-suspicious. So this is the further thing which is to decide upon whether suspicious and non-suspicious. So if it is suspicious, we can have some alert on it. Okay. Else, if it is not suspicious, means meaning that any unattended object, if once found, by a camera, by any of the camera at any site, so that information can be floated to all the security personnel, all the railway staff, or any staff of that particular public place. And certainly once they check it whether that unattended object is not a suspicious one, so then that sort of the object can be used to update the background for next processing of the frames in order to find those suspicious objects. Another kind of the problem we had seen of the shoplifting. So that's maybe it's one of the very major issues in case of the shopping malls and means bigger stores. So what we find is these things happens, means people try to actually shoplift many of the items. Okay. Just for not paying the money for that. So this is a enough bigger problem, and the study shows that there is a enough bigger loss, and something American retailers lose something $18 million kind of thing, means amount annually because of the shoplifting. So it again means it's a bigger issue in terms of the revenue loss of those store owners and the shopkeepers and all. So certainly you can think of having a system which can actually do or recognize any sort of these activity, shoplifting activity. Okay, now what we had done is we did a study, and certainly we come out with a problem where we find that shoplifting, what are the ways of shoplifting? Certainly the idea could be concealing some items in cloths, pockets, hiding items in other items. Then damaging some item could also be is a case of the shoplifting. Means even if you're not taking some object and putting in your pocket for theft, something like this, but you are not doing that. But even if you're taking some item and you are damaging that, but again that's a loss to the revenue of owner. So damaging item again is a serious thing. Then eating something, means it's not your item and you are eating from the item which are actually owned by the shop owner or the store owner, without paying for it. So these are the serious cases, actually the scenarios being identified. And certainly then we means what will happen in these cases. So why we had created these different scenarios? Since when we are talking of that, we have to, let me show you these images. So this shows means picking and placing the item in the pocket or hiding it by some way. Another case could be means hiding it in some ladies hiding those items in their purse and other cloths and something like that. Other scenario could be means taking some items and trying to pawn those packages and all, packaging of that. Another case could be eating something, means which is not intended to be eaten. Means there are these eating and something, these kind of activities are prohibited at many of those public places or those shopping malls and all. But even then, we are someone is doing something. So this is again is not a good. This needs to be monitored. So these are the different scenarios, and certainly why we keep them as a different scenario. Certainly we have to have a different approach and the algorithm. So since how can we actually recognize these activities? So these activities can be recognized. So what is to be done is, so those video stream is to be captured, frames are to be processed separately, then frames are to be processed first for the human detection. So, who are doing all this? So human are doing all this. So human needs to be detected at any instance, means every of the instances the human find is to be given a separate ID by detecting them, and certainly what they are doing. So their activity is to be then recognized. So how can the activity be recognized? So some sort of pose estimation we can do. So pose estimation you can very well see here. So how we do? So we try to create an skeleton for the pose. So we create an skeleton by finding some number of unique points in the human body, in the skeleton. Okay. So we can think of some points at the joints of the shoulders, bones, and something like that, knee, um, ankle, and other. So we have those joints, means the points corresponding to those joints, and certainly 13, 14 such points are standardized and they are defined that way. And then what we can do is those all nearby points are joined with their lines in order to give a skeleton of a body posture. Okay. And now what we find is in every of the different activity, in every of the different situation, we find a different posture. So this is what we can do is that particular posture for that particular activity can be actually recognized. Okay. And once we say that any of the posture that corresponds to this kind of activity, say that human is actually doing some sort of shoplifting. So that's an idea actually. So it means pose estimation is a good idea for that. So no way means we not only utilize for this pose estimation for this kind of activities for shoplifting, recognizing shoplifting kind of activity. We can even use it for, or we have actually used it for creating assistive technology for those elderly and the disabled persons. So what we have to check out there in case of creating an assistive technology for elderly people. So let's say means if a person, elderly person, maybe they have their specific postures in which they can move or sit. But if any different kind of posture is found in their movement, okay, by the camera, okay, means not the camera only, by a system, okay, algorithms, backend algorithm of our system, okay, then we can say that it's somewhat different. Certainly there is a need of taking care of it. Okay, so that's an idea actually. Okay. So above all means so this is what means we are creating an intelligent systems by this way. Now important thing is we say that means so as I told you in an earlier case, means what was that means we were talking of unattended object and all. So what we did there, so we find out the characteristic of the unattended object, and that is what being used for classifying any object as unattended. So some sort of classification we are doing. Okay. So that classification activity is actually a learning activity. Okay. So that is what means this is a sort of intelligence we are creating through that learning. That learning could be different for every different scenario. Okay. Every different problem. So learning in case of unattended object detection is different. Learning here in this case is different. Meaning what means, since the kind of object we are detecting, the kind of activity we are recognizing, all will have their different features exactly. Different. They are recognized by their different characteristic and encoded features. So certainly the learning will get different. Okay. Either the classification approach will get different. But anyhow, but learning will be involved. Learning will be involved. Let's say if I say here, so the posture. So for this particular activity of the shoplifting, the posture would be some specific postures will be there for that. So what my algorithm will do is, so I can use a classification algorithm which can actually take as an input these posture of the information of this posture, and certainly can be fed to that classification algorithm. And then classification algorithm can tell me whether this posture relates to this shoplifting kind of activity or is not corresponding to that activity, or it's corresponding to, let's say in case of assistive technology, it's corresponding to the normal movement of the elderly, or means some different movement of the elderly. So that's the idea actually. And you had already learned machine learning approaches, means supervised learning approaches, means classification algorithm. There are now a lot number of classification approaches. Okay. What you have, once you get some features, you can actually apply it to some many number of the classification algorithm. You have a neural network, you have support vector machines, you have decision trees, and you have some probabilistic approaches also. Okay. A few of them I will be showing in coming slides actually. So this is one different problem of the surveillance, and certainly how this can be achieved. Then another kind of the objective, as I told you, means is the weapon detection and classification. See, if anyone have any question, please they can interrupt me in the middle if they have something to ask. All right. So then the next thing is the weapon detection. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to. This is one of the serious problem we generally have. So as we had already told, towards the security. So means at public places, if someone is found with some weapon, so we can say that probably this could be serious to the public roaming around. Probably what could be the intention of the person who is having the weapon. So probably he could have create some damage to someone or something like that. So any unwanted activity getting happened. So if we can actually track it out in active manner, meaning that if we can track out the weapon, if someone is having, or if someone tried to do something, means by looking over their behavior, if we are able to monitor that actively, so there is a case of that we can actually avoid that. So once we monitor it earlier, so we can, there possibility that we can avoid many number of such situations, unwanted happenings. So weapon detection. So we have to have a classification of the weapons first, okay, which we can actually detect. So weapon, what thing could be treated as a weapon or not? So again, this is again okay. So let's say if someone is having a small rod, something like that, okay, or rod. No, there could be any other object like rod, okay, which a person is, let's say, is having in his hand, okay. Let's say some umbrella, if one is having it look like a rod, okay, heavy rod. So then again there will be a question whether that will be treated as suspicious or not, okay. So that's the challenges here we find in case of the weapon detection. So typical weapon classes we have is the knife, gun, scissor, screwdriver, needle, rod. Now what we find is scissor certainly could be used for the normal uses as well as means it can be used for harming someone. Okay. Now let's say if someone is having that scissor, if let's say barber is moving and is having some scissor in his hand. So what we will do is means our surveillance system will actually recognize and make him suspicious. So probably then we have to think upon means we have to go a step above that if let's say if scissor is there, we can think that it could be suspicious, but then we have to look upon the behavior of the person also, those who is holding that object in his hand. So there are many things, there are many challenges. Certainly, it's an open space to work in that area. Okay. So very prevalent kind of the problem for classifying those, detecting and classifying the weapons we had actually exercised. So and we know that how serious is this means kind of the problem detecting weapons. So we generally see many of the crimes happening and with all these weapons. If in our surveillance system is actually able to capture those weapons earlier beforehand the crime, so there is a possibility then we can actually reduce that unwanted happening and reduce the crime. So how is it done? So here in this case means so how we had exercises, we actually utilize the deep learning approach for it. Okay. So meaning that instead of creating features for those weapons from our side, what we do is we actually employ a convolutional network which actually create the features on their own. So what we do is we supply all huge sort of the images of these different class objects, and certainly as a non-class object means means any other images in wild actually. So all these this kind of the data set is created and certainly given to a classifier, means not only classifier, it's a complete convolutional network, actually convolutional neural network, which actually extract out the features, and then those features are being made an input to the neural network, fully connected layers of that BCN. So that's an idea. So hope you have already gone through the study of means deep networks and deep learning networks and all, deep convolutional networks, deep neural networks and all. So there are different architectures of the deep neural networks. So in terms of we have for different problems exactly. So one we have that deep feed forward network. So deep feed forward network is simply an extension of the MLP. So it can be utilized for some purposes. Then we have autoencoders. So autoencoders generally they have very specific problem domain. So we can use it anywhere, but if we use for that specific problem domain, means the autoencoders are generally one of the problem they are good for is translating something, okay, or compressing the features, okay. So autoencoders are good for that purpose. Then we have the deep convolution neural network. So they are good means when we are actually working out with these image or the video kind of the information, probably maximally the image kind of the information. So then it means what is done in the deep convolutional neural network. So means there we have the whole set of the convolutional layers which actually do the convolution operation for extracting out the features, means more relevant features corresponding to the trained or the training data set we have, the labeled training data set we have. So the kind of images we show it to it, and we tell it the label that this is this class. So it actually captures out the more relevant kind of the features out of it. Okay. So that's an idea. Means in case of deep convolutional, we have the GAN, generative adversarial network. Means so we can even generate some information. So it's not only recognizing, classifying, and something. We only do the machine learning and the deep learning approaches for classifying and means predicting something. So we can even use them for generating something. So even let's say we don't have the information, we can even generate the with the help of those. So that's an idea. So this is we trained a CNN, and that was motivated from a VG60 model. So this is a typical idea. So we get a model against weapon detection and classification. So it does in classification, and what we do next to it, so marking out the boundaries of the object in any image of the weapon is done through finding out the contour of the samples where there is the most maximum probability of that weapon. Okay, the features corresponding to that weapon. So if please anyone have anything to ask, please they can ask. Then the next thing I will move up to one of the other really good problem in that domain is the border surveillance. So this actually I did in my own PhD actually. So this is a typical, and now I will take, once talking of the border surveillance, since we had very rigorously done this, and then in this particular problem, I will be telling you the more practicality of system design. So let's say if we are developing a system, okay, which needs to be deployed in a real time. So meaning that means, so system doesn't only employ the video processing. So if let's say we are having a real time system, so it many sort of the things. So developing a system means it will require understanding about what are the components, what will be the component required for that, what will be the typical specifications of those. Let me come up with the example I have. Okay, there it will be more clear. So border surveillance, it's we know that it's a very typical situation at the border side of every international border, that we have the infiltration. We find the infiltration at the borders, and those infiltration could even be by normal persons, or even in maximum cases by the terrorists. Okay. So what we have, the solution to this are the border security forces, and certainly they do the job of the patrolling and monitoring of those border areas. But now again, as we if we talk of the Indian scenario, what we find is our border extends from Rajasthan, different terrains. Means border extends in the different terrains like desert areas of the Rajasthan, snowy areas of the J&K, and so. And at even some places we have the coastal areas, and so. Now the thing, see, important thing to note down here is in such different kind of the terrains, the weather condition is very adverse, and think upon how it is difficult for the security personnel to lead their life and do the monitoring and patrolling in those adverse climatic conditions. So again, as we had already told me, human body is constrained with its capacities to wear actually. So so meaning that and again the huge amount of security personnel are required. That can we do something at that less number of security means we can resolve out with only utilizing less number of security personnel, as well as more typical situation of the weathers like fog, rainy, and sandstorms. Uh, in those situations, means our surveillance system is more efficient enough. Okay. What happens is in those typical situations, the human body is constrained. Means they are not able to view very clearly the things, and certainly the intruders take benefit of it, and certainly they intrude in those border areas. Okay. So the idea was to actually create a system which can actually cater out the problems which we find of typical means very adverse climatic conditions and the huge requirement of the security personnel and at the border sites. So an autonomous and intelligent system was an idea, and certainly means it is what based AI system. It is a vision-based AI system. So this was a scenario which we had created. This is our design. Okay, so let's say these are the border fences. Terrorists comes from this side, and this is a surveillance system, which actually is composed of what? A camera, a PTZ camera, very high resolution with a high range camera, and what we had done is all that information captured by this camera is actually processed at backend for human or the intruder detection, and certainly not only detecting that, it actually have the mechanism of responding. So some sort of response in response in terms of some alarm, or then combat also. For combat, we have this installation of the gun. So when we say that we have to actually come up with a very practical system. So now think upon what all parameters will come in picture towards designing a very practical system. So so what kind of camera we have to take? What should be the target distance? So we can't place a system very near to the fences. So if such happens, then what will happen? Anyone can shot from the other side, and that could be damaged. So this target distance should be very enough. It should be enough larger actually. Then once we say that, then we have to look upon the specification of the camera which supports this large target distance. Then so these are the thing actually. Let me tell you. So these are the very specifications we have to take care of. So what camera to choose, which gun to choose, the distance of camera and gun from the border fence. So specs, if you try to look above the camera is, means it should be pan and tilt zoom camera actually. Okay. Then we have to look upon it should not only work in the daytime, it should also be able to work in the night time. So some daytime camera, vision camera, and the night vision camera like thermal cameras and all. So which companies provide it? What should be the specification? The target distance should be enough good. Working temperature range should be good. So it should not be that their sensors, lenses of those cameras actually could not withstand the higher temperature or the very low temperature. So working temperature range, image resolution, angle of view should be enough good. Take a field of view such that if it is placed at a very high, far away, so the field of view should be, the coverage of that should be very then the protection against humidity and water video. And what's of the video those are the things he needs to then the effective firing range. So that is important. So what we find is the firing range here in case of LMG, the maximum more expect of 1 kilometer or more than 1 kilometer. Now, how can we do it then? So if we have the camera at some location and the gun at some other location, so then we have what the communication needs to be done in order to have the proper combat. So then we have to look upon what should be, if we want to place them at one place, so what should be the 3D calculation actually. So this is all calibrated. Okay, this is all calibrated over all those factors of field of view, the image resolution, and what would be the size of a person, object in the image. So these are the many important things which actually plays a big role. आप ऐसा नहीं कि आपने क्या कहा कि अगर बहुत दूर आपने रखा, if you place a camera very far away, so what would be the size of the intruder then? So if it is not having the zoom capability, if we do the zoom, the field of view will get smaller. So we have to have a trade-off kind of a thing, and that calibration is to be done against that. So this was the thing we did actually. Okay. So, so we know that this is a simple trigonometric relation we can do, and we can come up to a very fine optimized parameters which we can have for system. Okay. So we come up with a situation that if we have a AOV equal to 10 degree, target range will be 29 meters. And if we have AOV as 0.5, the target distance will be 573. And certainly if we have this kind of the distance, then our intruder will be very well visible to us enough with the enough size, and the movement can be tracked of that. So that was an idea. And this is our very what you say, very initial design of our system, which we make, and we do some experiment in our lab itself. What we did is, so this is a system, this is a camera. Now what we have to do is that camera should be rotating. ठीक है, तो कैमरा अगर हम फिक्स नहीं कर सकते, कैमरा फिक्स कर देंगे तो पूरा जो है बॉर्डर एरिया जो है एक कैमरे से आप, क्योंकि उसका फील्ड ऑफ व्यू कम है, the field of view of that is very small. So what we have to do is, in order to capture or cover the whole length of the fence, ठीक है, means enough good length of the fence, then we have to actually rotate that camera. Or let's say if moves from one side to one place to another place, and we have to keep track of that, so then in that case we have to actually move that camera. Okay, so that camera is placed on motor. This is the panel tilt of it of the camera. Okay, and certainly we have another set of the motors. Okay, so ये यहाँ पे we had actually shown one motor, but actually we have two motors, one in the vertical for vertical movement, one for the horizontal movement. And same here we have for sorry, for gun we actually have kept two motors, while for camera we have just one motor, since the vertical height of that was captured by the camera. Okay. So actually this we did see what we did in our lab to actually capture a moving human being. That is, we want to keep that human being in focus every time when he is moving. Even if we move out of the FOV, we rotate the gun. So that is what we had done. Hope you get an idea of it, what we had done. So how can that be done? So camera captures the video information, and that is done to this given to this human detection block. Okay. So this block here is the image processing block here, which does the human detection, and that human positions are actually calculated, position in terms of x, y, and then how much it moves. So the next position it means how much it moves in the next frame. So x dash, y dash. So this is the movement. From here we can actually calculate the displacement. So x dash minus x, y dash minus y. So that is the displacement in one direction. So now to which direction does it move? Okay. From an image we can very well understand. So if this displacement is positive, we say that this is either left or right direction. If displacement is negative, we can say this is the reverse direction. Okay. So that way we can actually calculate the direction also, to which direction we have to actually rotate the camera. Okay. So this linear displacement is then converted to the angular displacement, and this is all calibrated. How much corresponding angular displacement has to happen corresponding to this linear one. Okay. So this was all calibrated. Okay. And here this linear angular displacement is fed to the microcontroller, which actually generates the PWM signal to rotate this camera. So that was an idea actually. And let me show you. So there are two parts. One is the image processing part, okay, which actually does the the human detection, and certainly the second part is this controller part to actually control the motors, servo motors. So this is all just the calculation of linear displacement and the angular displacement. This is about the image processing part of the stream, video stream. So this is what we had done. So video frames extracted, then human detection is done, and then human positioning is calculated. Now, one more important thing. So what we did, so when we had applied it for, actually we had emulated, so we haven't got the practical video footages from the border side. So what we do an experiment at our own site where we emulated that situation. So we emulated a fence near our department, and that is what the scenario we had actually created. Okay. So there are two things which will be required. One is the human is to be detected and its position is to be identified, and the fence is also be detected. And then once fence is detected, then a relative position with means a position relative to the fence is to be calculated of the human being. So let me show you what happens. So these were the three scenarios we had actually captured. Okay. So one is a scenario, means let's say if an intruder actually is behind the fence. So these are the three scenarios based on the combat, means or the response, the kind of response we will be doing. So if it is behind the fence, so then our system does nothing. So once it tries to cross the fence, either by cutting the fences or by jumping the fences, we did was to an alarm, and then once it had crossed the fence, then there is a mechanism to actually invoke this gun for the combat, okay, for auto firing. Okay. So that was an idea actually, and we had emulated the situation, had done the experiment. So this is the thing we did in our own lab, okay, for capturing the human being in the FOV, field of view of the camera. So let me show you how we did the human detection. So human detection we did, see how can we do an human detection. So we have to think upon how we detect a human being. So we first look upon the characteristic. हम कोई भी object, how we actually detect an object. So we look upon the object and understand the characteristics of the object. Okay. What characteristics? Probably the shape, size, color, and even if these kind of characteristics are not able to give good result, then texture information kind of a thing can actually give you some correct classification, correct detection of that object. So same way in case of the human being, what is done is, so we had actually used this algorithm, Voiland-Jones algorithm. What it does is, human being is detected through the facial information. And what kind of facial information? So probably face also possesses the skin. So if we use the skin color of the face, so there is a complete domain called as skin color modeling. Okay. So we can do that way also. Okay. But this algorithm, Voiland-Jones algorithm, actually uses the texture information. Because there are the challenges in actually processing the face, means skin color. Okay. What challenges I will show you later if the time permits. Okay. So we can means with the skin color modeling, probably if there are the cases that we go with the wrong detection, okay, a classification result is not very good. So what happens is, in this case, the texture actually is captured. Texture of the face is captured, and certainly what we find is, if we try to have different categories of the objects, even the living objects, what we will find is the face texture of every of those living objects will be different. Okay. So texture can be treated as a unique property. Okay. So this Voiland-Jones actually had used this hair-like features, and hair-like means the term is hair-like feature for those features. This is a texture. Hair-like feature are the encoded form. Hair-like features are the encoded form of the texture. And how does it look like? It look like this. So hair-like features कैसे लगते हैं? So these are the rectangle features. ठीक है. So actually hair is a function, ठीक है, mathematical function, ठीक है, it's a rectangular function, ठीक है, और वो क्या है, there in mathematics we will find it single dimension function, ठीक है. or a single variate, ठीक है. While this here is a rectangular, ठीक है. So it's a multi or two variable function actually, ठीक है. So this rectangle feature, so rectangle ऐसे समझ सकते हैं. So this is giving us a texture. So this black and white. So actually texture what क्या होता क्या है? So texture is nothing but means a relative difference between the nearby group of nearby pixels or the group of pixels. ठीक है. So if we find a variance, ठीक है, variation, ठीक है, texture, ठीक है. So we can actually this is encoded with this, ठीक है. And see, it is shown here black and white means the highest intensity and the lowest intensity. Exactly, this is not actual black and white, 0 or 255. Rather, it is relative black and white. So any small intensity black, any higher intensity white. Okay. So this way, these kind of and such 27 rectangle features were defined by the Valand-Jones. Okay. And तो किसी भी image में when we process any face image for these Haar features, so what is done is कि such see in typical एक image is represented through a pixel intensities actually, ठीक है. So either we can have the pixel intensities as an information, but what we do if we use the pixel intensities, we will not be coming up with the right result, very good result, ठीक है. So what we do, we use these features, texture information against the color information. We use means this algorithm uses the texture information, and these are coded this way. So what is done is from those face image, these rectangle features, Haar-like features are generated, created. ठीक है. अब ये features कितने होंगे? Can we let's say if we talk about there is a window, a small window of 24 cross 24 pixels. So if we try to calculate out how many number of such 27 features can be created, okay, such 27 types of features can be created in that 24 cross 24 small image. So if we try to find out the pixels, so pixels would be what? How many pixels would be there in 24 cross 24? So this goes to be something 1024. कितना होता है? Something like that. But against that, if we try to calculate then these Haar-like features from that smaller 24 cross 24 sub window, that this amount will be very high. ठीक है भाई, क्योंकि ये फीचर तो हमने कहा एक पिक्सल से एक पिक्सल के कॉम्बिनेशन से एक रेक्टेंगल फीचर हम लें. सो इफ वी टेक वन रेक्टेंगल फीचर, सो वी सच अ रेक्टेंगल फीचर एक इमेज में कितने हो सकते हैं? बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं. एक पिक्सल का कॉम्बिनेशन, दो पिक्सल का कॉम्बिनेशन, तीन पिक्सल का. So this actually creating such number of such types of features, it will be a combinatorics actually. So combinatorics means, so it will be something 24 plus 24 C27 number of features. So this goes something 117 in this small means more than 1 lakh. Okay. Oh sorry. Yes. In this smaller size. Now the problem come here is we are using these features for good accuracy of the result, but what is the problem? The computational complexity will increase. So the time required for computing these and using these for classification will grow very high. So what is done is these kind of features are extracted, and these features for that particular face sample then are to be input to the classifier. ठीक है. So classifier आप कोई भी यूज कर सकते हो, जैसा we had already said you. ठीक है. You can use a neural network, you can use SVM, you can use a decision tree, any kind of other classifier you can use. ठीक है. The important thing is if we actually use these many number of the features, so if the image sample is bigger than that, something 400 plus 400 size image sample, we can think of the number of features will grow to. Okay. So in order to process that, it will be very difficult. Okay. So what is done? So in order to reduce this, so instead of one classifier, what is proposed is a cascade of classifier. एक से ज़्यादा classifier एक cascade में, ठीक है? Where every of this classifier is nothing but a neural network. Okay. So what is done is this first stage classifier is actually using only the features which are two rectangle features. ठीक है, of one type. हमने कहा कि बहुत सारे rectangle features है ना, उनमें से एक फीचर को, सिंगल फीचर को यूज करके जो क्लासिफिकेशन हो रहा है, दिस इज द क्लासिफायर इज डूइंग ओनली क्लासिफिकेशन बेस्ड ऑन द सिंगल फीचर, ठीक है. सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट स्टेज फीचर, ठीक. सो व्हाट विल हैपन इज कि it will select some, it will say that these all samples possess the phase, it will pass on, ठीक है, or it will decide whether many number of the samples are not having actually this phase, so it will reject those, ठीक है. So what will happen, so many number of the samples here will be rejected out, जिसमें phase नहीं होगा, ठीक है. तो सैंपल्स का हो या सब विंडो का हो एक इमेज की, ठीक है. सो एक इमेज, एक बहुत बड़ी इमेज है एंड उसमें एक फेस है. सो 400 क्रॉस 400 है, 1000 क्रॉस 1000 की एक इमेज है, ठीक है, पिक्सेल्स की इमेज है. सो प्रोसेस कैसे होगा, प्रोसेस एक छोटे छोटे सब विंडो की फॉर्म में होगा, ठीक है. एंड दो सब विंडो आर स्लाइडेड, दिस इज स्लाइडिंग विंडो मैकेनिज्म, ठीक है. सो 24 क्रॉस 24 और समथिंग दैट साइज, ठीक है. तो इतने सारे सैंपल्स जो है, हर एक सैंपल पास होगा तो उसमें देखेगा उस classifier whether that sample sub window have the face or not. If it has, it pass next. If it doesn't have, it reject that. So what will happen, every stage classifier will be selecting very lesser one and rejecting many of those samples, okay. So this is the way up. Now the amount of samples to be processed will be lesser, and now at every stage the complexity will be reduced. This is the way the whole sort of complexity of this cascade classification will get reduced, okay. So this is done, and anyone if you want to use it, so there is a ready-made code available for this in the OpenCV library, okay. This is called the Boyle-Jones classifier, cascaded classifier, and it can be used to classify. So there are see, this classifier is trained for many number of the objects. It is trained for frontal face, it is trained for eyes, lips, and like that, okay. Even you can train yourself this cascade classifier for any other object. Let's say pen, pencil, bottle, falana, nimka, any. So only what you have to do is you have to provide that kind of the samples to that classifier, and you can do the training. Okay. So this is an idea. So this is the face detection here, and correspondingly the human detection. ठीक है, हमने face detect कर लिया, मतलब human का ही होगा, तो हमने उसको we can with the aspect ratio we can actually make a boundary here for a complete human object, ठीक है. And then we can actually check this through the centroid, how the centroid is changing. So if it is moving left or right, we can by changing by the displacement, negative, positive displacement, okay. And this is the way we actually do. And this is a circuit diagram for microcontroller interfacing, okay. And this is how it does. The human was detected, but meaning that means we are able to actually detect the human being with that, and finally what happens is our camera rotates whenever the human object actually moves outside the field of view of the camera. So that was successfully done, okay. So then we checked out, there are some problem with the classification using Boyle-Jones. We find out the actually the trained algorithm, Boyle-Jones algorithm, was trained for frontal face. So if we try to tilt or rotate something, so we were not able to actually find it. But anyhow, we can, if we supply these kind of the faces for training, okay, we can even train on these kind of the faces, rotated or the less amount of information of face. If it's not frontal, we can even train that Boyle-Jones for that, okay. So this is an idea. So then we further actually have exercised many other algorithms. We did the skin color modeling. So what we do in the skin color modeling, we have to actually we have to have a classifier, ठीक है. वो classifier क्या काम करेगा? So this is a classifier, ठीक है. So this is a very simple rule based classifier. इस ये क्या काम करेगा कि if this intensity of an image lies in the skin color region, then भाई अगर हम natural colors की बात करें तो natural colors जो है we can have a distribution of natural color in a 3D distribution map. अगर हम एक RGB कलर स्पेस या इस तरह का कलर स्पेस ले रहे हैं तो ठीक है, तो उसमें अगर स्किन कलर की बात करें तो स्किन कलर का एक छोटा सा स्पेस होगा, उस पूरे 3 डायमेंशनल स्पेस में एक छोटा सा जगह होगी जहाँ पे स्किन कलर की इंटेंसिटीज होंगी, ठीक है. सो हमने कहा कि हम स्किन कलर किसको कहेंगे, कि हमने कहा स्किन कलर उसको कहेंगे जो उस जगह लाई करेगा। लेट मी शो यू। तो यहाँ पे हमने क्या क्लासीफाई डिजाइन किया, वी एक्चुअली क्रिएटेड अ Gaussian fitting based elliptical model for classification. So this is a probabilistic model, so actually this is a probabilistic in terms of Gaussian modeling mapping, and it's a geometric fitting based parametric model क्योंकि हमने geometric means elliptical fitting की है, ठीक है। Let me directly go to that, ठीक है, since time is less. So these are the challenges कि skin color model करने में कितने challenges हैं, क्योंकि skin color varies a lot from one geographical location to another geographical location, age, ethnicity and all. दूसरी चीज़ क्या है कि जो skin color और actually is very much or any color is affected by the ambient light illumination, ठीक है। So ऐसे मानो कि अगर हम कोई भी इमेज कैप्चर करते हैं डिफरेंट लाइट इल्यूमिनेशन में, so what will happen, you will get a different intensity snapshot, ठीक है। तो वहाँ पे इंटेंसिटी लेवल सेम सीन के अगर अलग अलग लाइट इल्यूमिनेशन में लोगे तो आपको इंटेंसिटी अलग अलग मिलेगी आपको पिक्चर में। सो वी हैव टू रिड्यूस दैट प्रॉब्लम, ठीक है। सो दैट इज व्हाट वी हैव डन। सो YCbCR वाज यूज्ड एनीवे, मींस दिस वाज द अप्रोच वी हैड क्रिएटेड, ठीक है। मैं आपको बता दूं ये कैसे किया, ठीक है। तो कुल मिला के ये है कि हमारा जो स्किन कलर अगर हम देखें तो अगर YCbCR में दो कलर पैलेट लेते हैं, तो अगर RGB लें तो RGB अगर तीनों कलर पैलेट लेंगे तो क्या बनेगा डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, एक 3D बनेगा। हमने कहा दो कलर पैलेट लेंगे RG, तो ये क्या बनेगा, एक 2 डायमेंशनल प्लॉट होगा, ठीक है। तो अगर 2 डायमेंशनल प्लॉट होगा तो सारे कलर क्या लाई करेंगे, मतलब एक पूरा स्क्वायर बना लेंगे, ठीक है। तो हमने कहा स्किन कलर इसमें निकालने हैं, तो स्किन कलर एक सिर्फ इतना स्पेस है। आर यू गेटिंग इट? सो दिस इज एन आइडिया एक्चुअली। तो हमको क्या करना है, इस वाले स्पेस को मॉडल करना है कि इसमें जितना कुछ होगा वो स्किन कलर होगा, इसके बाहर जितना कुछ होगा वो नॉन स्किन। सो दिस इज व्हाट वी हैड डन एंड दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ स्किन कलर, ये है, ठीक है। सो ये जो इलिप्टिकल स्पेस है, दिस करस्पॉन्ड्स टू द स्किन कलर स्पेस, ठीक है। and we actually did Gaussian fitting for calculating the mean and variance, and उस mean और variance से हमने क्या किया, we actually designed an ellipse, और उस ellipse से हमने classification किया, so that ellipse function was actually used as the classification function. So this is how we can see this. तो ये हमारा actually skin color वाला डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है। बाकी इसके अलावा जितना स्पेस है वो क्या नॉन स्किन कलर का होगा, ठीक है। तो इसको हमको जो है मॉडल करना, तो हमने क्या किया कि ये कंटूर्स निकाले गॉसियन से, ठीक है। गॉसियन से हमको मीन एंड वेरिएंस मिला, और मीन वेरिएंस से हमने ये वी कैलकुलेटेड दिस इलिप्स इक्वेशन, ठीक है। So this was the thing, since time is very less, and these were the experiment later on we did with the Gaussian elliptical fitting, ठीक है। and we got enough good result for that, ठीक है। तो हमने Gaussian elliptical fitting करके जो क्लासीफायर बनाया एंड उससे हमने ह्यूमन डिटेक्शन किया, so this is the result of those human detection. So see here, so this is even able to detect the human face through skin color, even if the background is having some intensities, you can say some intensities of yellowish, ठीक है। तो उसके बावजूद भी means our algorithms actually means clearly separate out this from the background, ठीक है। So those were the approaches. Now I will actually move you to the last this part of the border surveillance results actually I want to show you, ठीक है। So this is the thing, actually we actually imitated the scenario of the border surveillance. So this is an space near our department. So what we do is कि ये हमने इसको फेंस की तरह ट्रीट किया, और हमने कहा कि यहाँ पे हम इंट्रूडर की पोजीशन को हम कैलकुलेट करके रेस्पॉन्स जनरेट करेंगे। So this is what the thing we had done, ठीक है। So human detection, intruder detection separately, and that too when the face is naked and when the face is covered. Okay. So these were the two things which was done. Okay. So this is a naked scenario. Okay. And let me show you. Okay. This is the decision tree actually we had used. हमने relative position निकाल के, ठीक है, कि ये फ्रंट में होगा कि क्रॉस कर रहा है कि फेंस के क्रॉस कर लिया, ठीक है. So these are the results actually. So ये naked face के साथ में है. This is showing that this is, and see here they are the captions corresponding to the scenario, ठीक है, जो, and these captions are automatically generated. Let me tell you. So the images processed by our system, by our algorithm. So this shows that the calculation was done. This is the fence and object was found behind the fence. So these are the caption automatically generated. Let me try to zoom it out if it is possible. Sorry, ये जो है, हाँ यहाँ पे, ठीक है, this here. So this is here, means it has detected the fence, it has detected the object, and by the relative positioning decision tree, it has calculated that object is behind the fence. These, let me tell you, these captions were generated of the images automatically by an algorithm. So this is over the fence and this is in front of the fence. This way it was done. And this is in case of the covered face. And this is just shown for means how the fence was detected. Let me tell you, fence में हमने क्या use किया था. So we created a feature, and that too motivated from the Haar-like feature. So हमने length feature एक create करके Haar-like feature जैसा उससे हमने fence को detect किया, ठीक है. And this way we did. This is all about what we did for video surveillance and the approaches and the can be used for video surveillance.